Welcome into another edition of the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com. I'm Tom Leach, along with Keeneland's Director of Simulcasting, Jim Goodman. And just up front, we'll tell you that each week we accept some questions from some of our players, and we'll get to some of those after we pick the races for this week. But you can always shoot us an email with questions that you have about handicapping, and we'll try to answer a few of them each week. Jim, last week we both had Long Hunter down at Kentucky Downs. You also had Temerain down there with a nice win. I had Alterite, I think it is, up at Belmont, and then Vuitton was my nice one down at Churchill for Steve Asmussen. You always take credit for the wins, no matter how they happen. I thought that one might go wire to wire, and it came from off the pace, but it wins either way.
They don't ask how, they just ask how many.
That's right. Well, let's go to the Saturday stakes races. Next weekend is the big Belmont and Santa Anita preview weekend. So it's a little lighter this weekend in terms of just the one grade one up at Parx. We'll start up at Belmont with a grade 2 Gallant Bloom. And this one is for fillies and mares 3 and up over 6.5 furlongs. Who'd you like?
Yeah, not to be confused with a Gallant Bob that we'll handicap a little later at Parx.
It's a Gallant weekend.
Yeah, Gallant weekend. I have no idea why that is. The other thing, Dance of Bristol, looks like the obvious choice here, but either one of McLaughlin's two horses. Dance Card is interesting to me, coming off a layoff since last November when she won the Gazelle, and then she's obviously had something go wrong with her, but she's come back and worked really well, so I like Dance Card a little bit. I like Villanesca a little bit, that only lost to Dance to Bristol by a length and a half last out. So I think Dance to Bristol is going to be way over bet off those 7 in a row. It's kind of hard to bet against a horse going for 8 in a row, but I'm going to take McLaughlin's entry just barely over Dance to Bristol.
I think Dance to Bristol's vulnerable here. On numbers, she doesn't have really much of an edge, if any, on some of these, and she's going to be bet like she has a big edge, I think. So I could see this as a race. I wouldn't even be surprised if she finished third, so or worse. So I'm going to try to beat her definitely. And I like Holiday Soiree quite a bit. Big improvement in the first start for Todd Pletcher, which I liked. And she's got a little back class, and now you add that with maybe the improvement for Pletcher. I think she can be right there, and she's going to be my pick to win the Gallant Bloom. And then I would key her in exactas. Got to use Dance to Bristol, but I like the Dance Card Villanesca entry as well. And also Cluster of Stars, mainly just off the workout pattern for Asmussen, whose horses usually don't work particularly fast, and this one is. So I think that's always a little dangerous. Laurel has sprinters 3 and up featured in the DeFrancis Dash. Nice betting race, I thought, here at 6 furlongs. And I went for an Asmussen horse, Saturday's Charm, working well off a lifetime best number, and that number last time was back to where this horse was back in the winter/early spring when he was pretty good. And I think there's a good bit of speed in this race, and he could kind of sit off of him just a little bit and maybe get first run on the deep closers. So Saturday's Charm for me, and then I'll key him in exacta boxes with Sage Valley, Service for 10, who almost picked on top, and then Il Villano. What about you?
Yeah, one of the things that when I looked at this race I was concerned about, and if you read the racing form, it's Charlestown has the same issue. There's a lot of horses cross-entered this weekend. So you got trainers kind of covering their bases. And Brigand was entered on Thursday at Belmont and scratched out. So Brigand apparently is going to run at Laurel. And so he's a horse that I like some. But I'm going to go with Service for 10. 5 for 9 at Laurel jumps out at me. And the horse jumping up in class to a $350,000 race. But the home court advantage means a lot on this racetrack. And I think I'll take him over Brigand. Ben's Cat, again, is entered in another race, in the 8th race at Laurel. So I'm not sure which race that King Leatherberry is going to take for this horse, but you got to throw him in there. This is a great race, but I'm going to take Service for 10 just because of the home court advantage at Laurel Park.
Parx up in Philadelphia has 3 graded stakes races on their card. First one is the 9th race. It's the Gallant Bob, 3-year-olds at 6 furlongs. And this is a really nice betting race. Reminded me a little bit of the Test Kings Bishop type races that you see at Saratoga at 7 furlongs. It's hard to take a short price on anybody in here. Where did you go?
Oh, I took a long price. I'm going to toss Majestic Hussar's race in the King's Bishop. I think he was well intentioned there. He went off at 8-1. if you remember Capo Baston, that race just fell apart, and Capo Baston won it with a charge down the middle. But Majestic Hussar looked like the speed of the race, and he got bumped, never had a shot. So I'm just going to completely throw that race out. And I'm going to go back to his Saratoga race on August the 4th with a 98 buyer, and that's why he got bet in the King's Bishop like he did. He's 20-1 morning line. There's a couple other horses in here. Ray Judicata at 12-1. Distinctive Passion at 8-1. This is a great betting race, and there's no way I would take Rainbow Air and Clearly Now, even though they're certainly contenders, but they're 3-1 and 4-1 morning line, and I think those horses are going to be overbet. If Clearly Now runs back to his Woody Stevens, he's going to win the race. That was a very impressive race at Belmont. He got beat by 3/4 length, 40 tails, and Declan's Warrior, just a really nice race. I'm going to take a shot that he's not going to run quite as well at Parx. And I'm just going to take a 20-1 shot on top with a lot of speed, Majestic Hussar.
Okay, there's no way this horse is going to be 20-1 because I'm picking him too.
Okay.
I think to get back to 6 furlongs helps. He's 2 for 2 at that distance. And like you said, that race on August 4th, good enough to win this if he can run back to it. And I would certainly think that he could. So I don't think we'll get 20-1, but surely he won't be favored. So somewhere in between will be good.
He will not be favored. That's right.
And I would use him in exactas with the favorites Rainbow Air and Clearly Now, just because they certainly figure. And the 13 Z-Watt intrigued me a little bit too. So Majestic Hussar for me as well. 10th race, the Grade 1 Cotillion. This was a tremendous race last year. I think my Miss Aurelia won it, if memory serves. This year you've got Close Hatches, a Grade 1 winner, Sweet Lulu, a Grade 1 winner, My Happy Face, who's kept Grade 1 company in her last 2. Tough one to call. Where did you go?
Well, this one is worth the price of admission. I mean, if you don't watch Parx racing the rest of the year, watch this race because it's a great filly race. You put $1 million out there. It's funny how the great fillies show up for you.
Yes.
I'm going to go with Sweet Lulu. I was not convinced that she was the best horse in the test, but she held off Wildcat Lily and My Happy Face down the stretch with a lot of class. And she shipped over from Belmar. She'd never run on dirt before. And Jerry Hollendorfer doesn't ship them for fun. And I think she's the real deal. I think she's got a shot at being a super filly. She's 4 for 4, and I'm going to take her in a very tight squeeze over Close Hatches, who I loved in the Mother Goose. She won by 7 1/4. She's been off since then, and she's raced against the best of her generation. She threw a clunker in the Kentucky Oaks, which concerns me a little bit, but she's going to be right there. But I'm going to take Sweet Lulu on top. Shenane Girl is another one that intrigues me a little bit, who ran really well in the Monmouth Oaks last time out. So Sweet Lulu is the pick for me over Close Hatches, Shenane Girl, and My Happy Face.
I almost went Sweet Lulu because of Hollendorfer, but I ended up going with My Happy Face. Very close call for me. I thought Mike Smith gave her a bad ride in the test, and she still almost won. And I think stretching back out will be good for her, and she can maybe sit just off Sweet Lulu. This is any one of the 3, Close Hatches, Sweet Lulu, and My Happy Face. I could certainly see winning this. I think the play might be to go with a double on Majestic Hussar in the previous race to all 3 of these, because I think Close Hatches will get bet heavier than the other 2, and I think their chances may be about equal. Let's go to the 11th race, the Grade 2 Pennsylvania Derby. Got the 1-2 finishers from the Travers. We'll take charge, and Moreno in here. 3-year-olds going 1 mile and 1/8 for a big pot. Where did you land?
Yeah, I couldn't get past those 2. Moreno gets a 2-pound weight shift. I don't know. I don't know if he's better than Will Take Charge, but it seems to me that the pace in this race sets up better than it did for him in the Travers. He almost led all the way and just barely got nailed at the wire. And I think he may get an easy lead here and may carry him to the wire and may hold off Will Take Charge. But it's cold exacta with Moreno on top of Will Take Charge here for me.
I'm going to go against these 2. And on speed figures, I certainly shouldn't. But I'm a little leery that Will Take Charge maybe just loves Saratoga and may regress. And Moreno, I'm worried about maybe a regression there. Sometimes those horses coming out of the last year, the Travers horses didn't do well in this race. If they run, either one of them runs back to anywhere close to that number, they win. But I'm going to take a flyer on Fury Cap Corey. You mentioned the Hollendorfer angle earlier. I think Sweet Lulu's the main one he's shipping in, but he's shipping this one across the country too. And Mike Smith takes the ride, which I thought was particularly intriguing. So I'm going to take a shot with Fury Capcorey for the upset, and then I'll certainly use him with the two Travers horses, and also Speak Logistics, who ran a nice number when finishing second last time out at Parx. And if he can improve off that on a number standpoint, he'd be not too far off the two favorites. So Fury Capcorey is going to be the upset pick for me. Dogwood is the featured stakes race at Churchill on Saturday. It's the 9th race on their card. 3-year-old fillies at a flat mile on the dirt. So Many Ways was going to be my pick. I really liked her a lot in this spot, but I see where she's apparently going to run at Charlestown and not here. So I ended up going to Finding More for Kellen Gorder, 2 for 2 at 7 furlongs, and ran a 94 buyer at this distance back in June on this track. And if he can, she can run back to that race, I think she could win this. So I'll play her with Sky Girl and with Irish Lute. How'd you see it?
I like Finding More because she loves 7 furlongs. She's 2 for 2 at 7 furlongs, and they always look for that in this kind of odd distance. Some horses just don't like 7 furlongs. But I did go with So Many Ways because of that class. She's also 2 for 3 at 7 furlongs. She comes out of the same race that we talked about earlier. Sweet Lulu won the test, and So Many Ways ran 2 lengths behind her and was out on the turn and was wide. So I think that probably she fits class-wise. Sky Girl has a shot. The other horse I like, this is strictly personal. I know the guys who own Guadalupe High, and they've been high on this horse, forgive the pun, ever since they bought her. So I think she might have a chance to get in the money at a price. I don't think she's going to win, but I think they're really happy about the way she's going, and Ronnie Werner's a good trainer. So I'm going to put Guadalupe High. That's my kicker of the week with maybe run 3rd or 4th here.
Let's get to a few questions before we adjourn for the week. One comes in from John via the email. When handicapping low-level claiming races, for example, 5K, non-winners or 2 lifetime, is class an important consideration, or do you focus only on speed as the dominant factor?
I think when you're talking about lower-level claiming horses, it's hard to find class unless a horse drops in class to 5,000 to just get a win after they've competed at higher levels. So, some old guys that I used to hang out the track with said, speed kills, and you've got to find the horse that can get the lead. And a lot of times, the 5,000 claimers, I'll sit here at simulcasting at Keeneland, and I'll see these 5,000 claimers running, and these guys will bet on horses to close down the stretch, and they just don't have it. They don't have the back class to do that, and they don't have the ability. So I handicap more for speed on horses that are cheaper. I don't know what you do, but that's how I feel about that.
No, I think that's makes a lot of sense. I think one factor you can try to look at is if you can study patterns of trainers, and if somebody's dropping down, do you have an idea if they're dropping down to win or just dropping down because it's time to cull the stable herd, if you will,
right.
and let somebody else try to do better with a particular horse. So if you can handicap trainer intention a little bit, I think is a factor, but I think speed is probably the first thing to look at. If you can find a horse, especially if you can make it easy to lead, that's weighs pretty heavily, I think. How will Churchill's September meet? This is from Dave. How will Churchill's September meet impact the racing at Keeneland this fall? Any thought? It's the first time we're doing this.
I think it's only got to help. I mean, I think if you look at one of the things that was always an issue here at Keeneland was that the September meet at Turfway generally attracts cheaper horses, so you wouldn't have people shipping in to run at Turfway then come here. But I think we do have a shot. We'll tell after we look at the entries and horses that ran at Churchill. But I think it makes sense for a trainer to run in a nice lower level allowance race and then come to Keeneland in a stakes race, or maybe break their maiden at Churchill and come to Keeneland to run a first level allowance. So we think it's going to help. I know looking at the handle figures for September, Churchill has far surpassed what Turfway was doing on handle. So the quality of the horses is better, the handle is better, the betting opportunities are better from a standpoint of a business standpoint. Now, when we look at the field size at Keeneland, we don't have any major issues with field size anyway, but if we get a few horses that run at Churchill, that makes sense for them to just ship down an hour and 15 minutes. So
any handicapping angles?
Going to help us.
Any handicapping angles to look for?
Churchill's dirt and Keeneland's polytrack are completely different surfaces, so it's unusual. We're usually talking about a horse going from Keeneland to Churchill, and they run bad on the poly, and we mark that and say, okay, they're going to run at Churchill in May and it's dirt, maybe they'll do better. I think the reverse is true when you look at Churchill. If you look at a horse that may have been coming off a synthetic surface at Arlington or Presque Isle or whatever, and they come to Churchill and throw a clunker, don't necessarily throw them out at Keeneland because it is a completely different surface. The turf courses are different. Keeneland's turf course tends to favor speed, but Churchill isn't having that many turf races in September. They only carded one turf race a day last weekend because Kentucky Downs is running, so all the good turf horses are going down there. There's your angle you got to remember. Kentucky Downs horses run at Kentucky Downs. They're fit. They can run up and down hills. They come to Keeneland. They usually do very well.
And that could be true even switching over to the poly track.
Correct. Yeah.
And any trainers that we should keep an eye on as their horses run back. One that comes to mind is Kenny McPeak, because Kenny had a bad, characteristically bad fall meet last year at Keeneland, just a lot of seconds and thirds rather than winners. And he told me late in the meet that he didn't get a start and a lot of his horses at Turfway because he was saving up for the bigger purses at Keeneland. But pots were better at Churchill this September, say, versus Turfway last fall. And so I'm guessing Kenny probably ran a few more, kind of like he did the previous year, and maybe used some of those starts to get him ready for the Keeneland meet. So that would be one to keep an eye on. What about you?
The other trainer that was really cold at the beginning of the year that's heated up a little bit at Churchill is Dale Roman.
You got that right.
Dale loves to win races in Kentucky, so I think he'll have some live horses coming to Keeneland. His Donegal Racing ran 1-2 in the Iroquois up there, so he's got some 2-year-olds that are getting good, and I think he's due. He had a great year last year, not so great this year, so I think Dale's another one you look at when you come to Keeneland.
Jim, good luck on your picks, and we'll be back to talk about a big Breeders' Cup preview weekend for next Saturday here on the In the Money podcast at KeenelandSelect.com.